Get ready for the exciting showdown, the biggest names, the toughest competition, and the most thrilling moments. From the gridiron to hardwood and from the pitch to the track. Join us for Sports Central, the most electrifying sports program on television, every weekday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Spectrum Television. Sports Central, your home for sports.
Good morning and welcome to Sports Central, brought to you live and exclusive on Spectrum Television, right here from the hills of Ibiakuran in Akwa Ibom State. My name is Mfodobong Itina, and I'm excited to bring you the trending stories in the world of sport today. A lot of actions across all sporting activities, talking about the Cincinnati Open, Carlos Alcaraz, and of course the man Yannick Sinner had to battle it out for the Cincinnati Open crown. Not just the Cincinnati Open, but that particular match yesterday also had a huge bearing on who's going to end the year as world number one. Also in football, Monday Night Football returned, and Leeds United at Ellen Road had to condemn David Moyes to yet another defeat. The man had suffered some defeats in the Premier League Summer Series during preseason, and as the season started, it kicked off with a loss for Everton as they fell to Leeds United by 1-0. Well, these are the stories we have for you in Sport Wrap-Up, in sports, and we'll just take a quick breather, and when we're back, Sport Wrap-Up takes center stage. Now straight to Sport Wrap-Up. Carlos Alcaraz won his 6th title of the season at the Cincinnati Open yesterday after fierce rival Yannick Sinner was forced to retire just 23 minutes into their championship match clash. Looking out of sorts in the sweltering heat, defending champion Sinner called for the doctor after surrendering a 0-5 lead in the opening set, but he was unable to continue with his 22nd tour level trophy. Alcaraz also strengthened his push for year-end number one, an honor he last held in 2022. He leads Sinner by 1,890 points in the ATP Live Race to Turin. With defeat, Sinner's 26-match winning streak on hard court comes to an end, and he now faces a quick recovery ahead of his US Open title defense. The world number one's participation in the mixed doubles event, in which he is set to compete with Katerina Siniakova today, may now be in question. With the tour leading 54 wins and 6 titles in 2025, according to the ATP Win-Loss Index, Alcaraz will head to the US Open, which could have huge ramifications in his battle with Sinner for the world number one spot. As Sinner is defending champion at Flushing Meadows, Alcaraz will start with a 50-point lead in the ATP Live rankings once their points from the 2024 US Open are removed. Still in the Cincinnati Open, but now the WTA category, where world number 3 Iga Swiatek said winning the Cincinnati Open has given her a boost of confidence before the US Open begins on Sunday. The 6-time Grand Slam champion secured a dominant 7-5, 6-4 victory over Italian 7th seed Jasmine Paolini to clinch a maiden title at the WTA 1000 event. The 24-year-old Pole was in fine form throughout the week in Ohio and did not drop a set. She now heads to Flushing Meadows looking to claim a second US Open title in the final Grand Slam of the season, having triumphed at Wimbledon last month. in a repeat of last year's French Open final, which Swiatek won. Paulini surged to a 3-0 lead on Monday before Swiatek rallied on 5 games in a row on her way to taking the first set. Third seed Swiatek hit 9 aces to Paulini's none, and she converted all 6 of her breakpoint opportunities. Swiatek has now won 11 titles at the WTA 1000 level and is 2 away from equaling all the record held by Serena Williams. She's now due to compete alongside Norway's Casper Ruud in the US Open's revamped mixed doubles, which begins today. Now to basketball, where the Toronto Raptors have extended general manager Bobby Webster's contract. The team announced yesterday, although the team will not hire a new president, Webster succeeds his former boss Masai Ujiri as the lead Raptors executive. The Raptors parted ways with Ujiri on June the 27th, one day after the NBA draft. It announced that they had enlisted CAA executive search to assist in hiring a new team president. Webster will remain in the general manager role. He joined the Raptors in 2013 as Ujiri's first hire, rising from vice president of strategy and assistant general manager roles to the general manager sport, and now lands the organization's foremost authority position. Webster, at 40, is entering his 21st season working in the NBA, beginning with a role at the league office from 2006 to 2013, and then joining the Raptors. He will begin his 9th season as a general manager. Still in basketball, back home to Africa, where the Tigers will face West African rival Senegal in a highly anticipated quarterfinal showdown at the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket, after the Lions sealed their place with a hard-fought playoff victory over South Sudan. Senegal booked their ticket with a 78-65 triumph over South Sudan, showcasing early dominance before weathering a spirited comeback. Branco Badio was the star of the night, pouring in 31 points and grabbing 3 rebounds. Ibrahim Faye added 12 points and 9 rebounds, while Ibu Badji caught the paint with 9 points and 13 boards. Senegal's road to the last 8 was not straightforward. They opened the group stage with an emphatic 88-53 win over Uganda, but stumbled against Egypt in a 91-77 defeat. A recovery win against Mali ensured second place in the group, forcing them into the playoffs. Nigeria against Senegal quarterfinal clash will be held on Wednesday, the 20th of August at 7 p.m. Now to football, where Lucas Nmecha converted a controversial late penalty on his debut as Leeds United met a winning return to the Premier League by beating Everton 1-0 at Elland Road. Second half substitute Nmecha held his nerve to fire home an 84th minute winner from the spot and seal Leeds a deserved win after Everton captain James Tarkowski was adjudged to have handled Leeds debutant Anton Starch's stomping shots. Struck Tarkowski on the arm, and although referee Chris Kavanagh's penalty decision appeared harsh, it was upheld by VAR. Everton, who lost only 3 of the last 18 league games last season, following the return of Moyes for his second spell in charge in January, rarely threatened and slipped to their first defeat at Elland Road in 6 league matches, stretching back to 2001. Well, that's all we have for you on Sport Wrap Up this morning, but the show continues just after this break. Stick around.
Get ready for the exciting showdown, the biggest names, the toughest competition, and the most thrilling moments. From the gridiron to hardwood, and from the pitch to the track, join us for Sports Central, the most electrifying sports program on television, every weekday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Spectrum Television. Sports Central, your home for sports.
Broadening your horizon is what every living being not only genuinely desires, but heartily pursues and intentionally invests in. For in the gathering of men, only those whose minds are in tune with the dynamics of the past, present, and future innovations, inventions, politics, and governance are respected. We are Spectrum Television, and broadening your horizon is our obsession. Risk on your decoder now to connect Spectrum Television on the frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. That is frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. Polarization horizontal, and join our online community at spectrumtvlive.ng. For further inquiries, please call 0704 158 5642 or 0704 541 7707. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Get ready for the exciting showdown, the biggest names, the toughest competition, and the most thrilling moments. From the gridiron to hardwood, and from the pitch to the track, join us for Sports Central, the most electrifying sports program on television, every weekday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Spectrum Television. Sports Central, your home for sports.
Well, exciting conversations in the world of sports right here to take a look at this fine morning as we return with a whole lot of sport activities all across the globe. Well, already the club actions across different, leagues, the Spanish Liga, the English Premier League have returned. We're waiting for the Italian Serie A to return, especially in the coming weeks. But as we speak, we're still looking forward to the CHAN competition as Nigeria will be in action later today. Of course, it is maybe a game for pride because at the moment they're already knocked out of the CHAN competition. Maybe heads up, one more lucky last win of their first win, which would apparently be their first win of the competition before they jet back to the shores of the country. We look at the ongoing Afro basketball men's competition where the D Tigers have already, of course, found an opponent at the quarterfinals of this particular competition. The Premier League came live yesterday. That sums up the March week 1. And we're looking forward to more matches as the weeks also unfold. Today we'll have the Spanish Liga game. The Estadio Santiago Bernabeu comes alive. And we'll definitely talk about all of those games in fine detail. Good morning to you and welcome to Sports Central, brought to you live and exclusive to Spectrum Television. You earlier saw Tina. I am Utabe David, and I'm super delighted to return. Well, good morning to you. A pleasure to do this with you.
Definitely always exciting when we are here, talking sports. Lots of actions to look forward to for real. We have the D Tigers of Nigeria confirmed opponent Senegal. And it looks as if, I expect Nigeria to get the better of the Senegalese, but it's not always that easy. But at the end of it, I think Abdul Rahman should be ready to get the D Tigers at least to a semi-final berth and qualify for the FIBA Basket World Cup coming up later.
Well, a big task for the D Tigers of Nigeria. We'll certainly look at that conversation. But let's quickly start off with emerging champions we saw just yesterday at the recently concluded Cincinnati Open. One of the few top ATP and WTA games before the last Grand Slam of the year, which is the US Open later this month. It was the Cincinnati Open between of course, current world number 1, the Italian Yannick Sinner against the Spanish international Carlos Alcaraz, current world number 2 as well. It was a game, an end-to-end battle, I must say. But unfortunately, at some point where many were thinking that it would be quite an end-to-end battle until the last set of this particular finals. One man retired, injured. And I'm talking about the Italian Yannick Sinner. He retired even when he was actually trailing Carlos Alcaraz just after 23 minutes into the championship match clash. He retired and Carlos Alcaraz was given the Cincinnati Open title after his retirement. An unfortunate scene right there. Prior to the finals, the Italian Yannick Sinner was already on a 26 match winning streak on hard courts, and definitely that particular streak has actually come to an end due to his retirement. And he now faces a quick recovery process to be part of the US Open, which starts later this month. He's the current holder of the US Open title and is looking forward to defend that particular crown. Whether or not he will be fit in time for the US Open remains a conversation that we're yet to confirm officially whether he will return in time. But let's stick with this particular, of course, a game now for Carlos Alcaraz.
Yeah.
A moral boost for him now, looking forward to the US Open. But one thing stands out for him: whenever he gets to the final, he has usually been given his best. And despite Sinner retiring, he was actually leading in that particular contest.
Oh, definitely. I think for Carlos Alcaraz, he always struggles in the early stages of competition. But when he finds his groove, it's always very difficult for an opponent to get the better of the man. And that's what happened yesterday on his way to the finals of this particular competition. Was doing quite, I think he was doing well, at the quarterfinal stage, semi-final. And now for Yannick Sinner had to retire in this particular final. Shows that the fatigue, the stress, and also the weather conditions of this particular tournament, a lot of tennis superstars have retired from their matches in this particular. It's not the first, so it shows that something was quite wrong, I think, with the scheduling of this competition. But to the match itself, I think Carlos Alcaraz merited that win. He's done quite well this year. He's won 1 Grand Slam and I think about 2 tour level competitions already, so definitely something to look forward to. Now this particular competition was a preparatory ground for the US Open that already starts today. So we have the mixed doubles in starting today. Then we get to have the singles match much later in the week. But I think Carlos Alcaraz has proven that he has ambitions, because he's trying to end the year as world number one. Last time he was world number one was 2022, so that's quite a long while ago, and the man is looking forward to ending the year as world number one. And with the situation now with Yannick, I think that's quite possible, because if he pulls out of the US Open, or maybe does not really find his footing and gets knocked out of the competition quite early, and then Carlos Alcaraz goes all the way into the finals, that might just be the heralding of a new number one. Because right now, ranking points released for last US Open in 2024 will be removed immediately the competition starts. So we're going to have a reduction in Yannick Sinner's win, because he was the one who won the competition. So now Alcaraz will be looking forward to trying to get past Yannick Sinner in this particular one. I think it's something to look forward to. Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner looking like the rivalry that we saw between Novak Djokovic and the man Roger Federer. Quite exciting, always exciting to look forward to. I just hope that this is not the end we see of this particular rivalry.
At the end we've seen of this particular rivalry has been a conversation. Yannick Sinner still world number one with 11,480 points, a bit for pardon, while Carlos Alcaraz number two with 9,590 points. So still a long walk, particularly as it has to do with Carlos Alcaraz at the moment in search of being or ending the year as world number one. But let's look at the WTA category as well. It was a game between the Poland International League Fiantek against our opponent, another top player. As a matter of fact, talk about Jasmine Paolini, the Italian, the six-time Grand Slam champion. Talk about Iga Swiatek secured a dominant 7-5, 6-4 victory over the Italian to clinch a maiden title at the WTA 1000 event. As a matter of fact, it is her first Cincinnati European title, and this makes a whole lot of sense. She now heads to the Flushing Meadows with heads high. That particular victory yesterday, looking to claim a second US Open title in the final Grand Slam of the season, having triumphed at the Wimbledon just last month. Back-to-back titles now for Iga Swiatek.
Yeah.
So looking forward to Aryna Sabalenka as world number one, particularly before the end of the year. But does this set the tone to what we're expecting before the end of the US Open, that Iga Swiatek is all out to challenge the Belarusian Aryna Sabalenka for something very handy? And can we actually say the morale of Iga Swiatek at the moment is actually high to challenge for honors?
Oh, definitely. I think the Polish international is doing quite well for herself, being able to beat Paolini. Aryna Sabalenka was knocked out of this competition in the earlier round, so definitely going to have ranking points to lose to compare to the lady Iga Swiatek, because she was the defending champion of this particular competition and she did not even get to defend it. So at the end of it, I say Swiatek might just have, just like Carlos Alcaraz in the men's category, Iga Swiatek is definitely going to give Aryna Sabalenka a run for her money towards the year ending, because that world number one spot is definitely up for grabs. And looking at the scene right now, this particular final against Paolini was quite a match where people expected Swiatek to just be dominant, but I'm glad that Jasmine Paolini brought the fight. She was leading at a point, so it shows that she's not just a lane over for Swiatek to get the win. There are previous meetings where one-sided affairs where Iga Swiatek was dominating and just taking her to the cleaners, but she stepped up her game in this particular match. And I would say there's quite a lot to come from Jasmine Paolini in the coming years, because look at what she's been able to do for herself. I think we should expect more from her. This competition is not going to be the end we see of Paolini in the final, so definitely more finals to come, and hopefully she can finally get one of these two-level competitions in for herself.
Congratulations, Iga Swiatek. More opportunities beckons for Jasmine Paolini, just like Fana said. We're looking forward to see what exactly happens before the end of the year for the Italian. But let's quickly move away from the Cincinnati Open to other conversations. It has to do with the ongoing Afro-Basket men's tournament on the continent of Africa, where the D-Tigers of Nigeria have been so convincing, not losing any games so far, qualifying to the quarterfinals. At the moment has been a very huge conversation. Well, we hear that the D-Tigers will face West African rivals Senegal in a highly anticipated quarterfinal showdown at the ongoing FIBA Afro Basket, after the Lions sealed their place for the third and a hard-fought playoff victory over South Sudan. Well, the game is scheduled to be played later tomorrow, late in the evenings around 9 p.m. Nigerian time. Well, for Senegal had to pass through the playoff rounds to qualify to the quarterfinals as regards Nigeria, who of course had a 3-over-3 in their group stage matches. Can we actually say these particular facts can actually, of course, stand like a more positive ground for Nigeria to get the battle of Senegal much later tomorrow?
Well, definitely, I think the D Tigers have set a precedence in this particular competition. All three of their games in the group stage was a victory for them, and now against Senegal, a side who had mixed fortunes in the group stages, such that they had to go through, a playoff round. I think it's quite something we should expect, that the T Tigers would get the better of the Senegalese. It's just normal, because they're not the best of sides in this competition. Looking at the Senegalese side, they're not the best of sides, because if they were, they wouldn't have to pass through the playoffs. And also the fact that the D Tigers have had more days to rest and prepare. Well, the Senegalese will definitely have fatigue, because they've played a game more than the Tigers of Nigeria. So I'm expecting quite a lot from the D Tigers, likes of Caleb Agada, talking about Stan Okogie as well, and of course the man Okogie came in from Houston. So at the end of it, I think the D Tigers are set to get something quite handy for themselves in this competition. The goal is to at least finish in the semi-final spot, so you can get a berth for qualification for the FIBA World Cup. But also, if you get to the finals, quite good for you as well. So let's see what the D Tigers can do. I'm quite happy, because the last time we saw the D Tigers this dominant was 2015. 10 years later, we are having this, so I think it's something to look forward to. More things should be done to motivate the lads, because I think it's always about an issue of motivation. Right now, the motivation is quite high. They saw what happened with the D Tigers, so they're looking forward to having accolades of their own, and that's something that's driving them forward in this particular competition. So get to see more, investments, more development, more advancements for the D Tigers, and we get to see more glory for them as well.
Well, of course, it remains the conversation as regards what to expect from the D Tigers. Yes, the optimism around the team camp is high at the moment, and more positive is the very fact that they have actually had a clean sweep so far since the start of the competition. Wish them all the best. We're looking forward to the game later tomorrow. We'll talk more about it extensively when we return in the early hours of tomorrow, ahead of the game late in the day tomorrow as well. But let's quickly move away and look at the whole anticipated National Youth Games. Well, we hear that Delta State, of course, scheduled to host that event. Delta Camp, over 6,600 athletes, if ever pardon, for the National Youth Games. They have been actually showcasing in the last couple of years some level of consistency in terms of how many medals have been won at the National Youth Games, the quality of athletes as well that is also represented the shores of a country, not just Delta State. And this is once again another chance for them to assert their dominance as regards the National Youth Games. They are defending champions of the National Youth Games, and we hear the competition is set to start on the 26th day of August to the 6th day of September. This is actually a clarion call for all the states that have been far from convincing to follow suit what Delta have been able to build in the last couple of years. Young athletes, talented athletes are usually discovered in these games, but it has always been Delta dominating. Can we see a different states this time around?
Well, I would say when you have a particular state having 600 athletes, that's quite a statement.
That's more like having athletes in almost all the entire games.
And not just one athlete. You might get to have at least 20 in each sport. So that's quite very intimidating. I doubt Akwa Ibom State will even have up to 100 athletes going for that competition. So when you have a team who's bringing 600, how do you compete with that? So it's just what it is at the moment. That's why they're defending champions of the youth games. So it's quite something to look forward to. And I think Delta State will continue to dominate this particular festival for years to come, because when you have sometimes quantity beats quality, because when you have a lot and this one has just a few, even if it's quality, this side will always overwhelm this other side. So I think more states need to develop, because it's just about development. When you develop your youth, you have them competing in games like this. When Akwa Ibom say we have our youths just dawdling around the streets of Uyo, nothing. I think the government can harness this talent from the streets. We have local competitions, especially football, in and around, scattered across Akwa Ibom State. we can harness talent from all those competitions. So it's just what should be done, and then we start seeing dividends, just like we're seeing with Delta State.
Well, the conversation has always been about infrastructural development. Some would also argue Delta States, one of those states in the country that have gotten infrastructures left, right, and center. And that's why we're having this, of course, athletes prevail in their respective domain as regards the National Youth Games. Just recently, there were conversations around Akwa Ibom States having, of course, Akwa Ibom State Games, and we hear a budget has been passed for their particular games. We're expecting a date to be kept, and definitely we'll also do follow-ups. I'll give you updates as regards that particular competition that is set to happen. But let's quickly look at other conversations just before we talk about football this morning. It has to do with Nigeria. We hear Nigeria actually dominating Pan-African Youth Scrabble Championships in Kenya. One of the very few games that require some level of intellect, psychological intellect to, of course, be able to get past others. But Nigeria doing quite well at the Scrabble Championship in Kenya. Congratulations to them. We just hope that these young Scrabble players will definitely grow up to be standout players as regards what we're expecting in major international competitions representing Nigeria as well. But this particular conversation has actually been a conversation that has been dominating the internet space, maybe due to the very fact that he's a young boxer. But I'm talking about Moses Itauma. The man knocked out Dylan White in just the very first round of their bout. It was an inconsequential bout because no title was on the cards. But from just over the course of the weekend, while men were sleeping, it happened. And one would say maybe the man is no longer that big in terms of his level of dominance anymore in the world of boxing. But at the moment, it looks like Moses is actually sending a strong signal toward the boxers.
Oh, 20 years of age, and he has Frank Warren as his promoter. So you can expect big things, huge things to come from Moses Itauma, because with what we've been able to see in this particular, for the man Moses Itauma, 20 years of age, he already has, I think, 9 wins, and 8 of them with knockouts in the first round. He's never gone past the first round of his bout. So I think he's quite a dangerous boxer, because, there have been comparisons to Mike Tyson. The early Mike Tyson we saw would never go past the first round. And that's what we see with Moses Itauma, always destroying his opponent within one round. So it's something to look forward to. But for Dylan White, 37 years of age, you can understand that the man is quite close to retirement. He's even older than the likes of Anthony Joshua. So you understand that it's not quite easy for a 37-year-old man to go in the ring against a 20-year-old hungry boxer. That requires some level of bravery, and you have to give the man that. He has that fighting spirit in him, because trust me, at 37 I wouldn't fight a 20-year-old man. That's a lopsided fight. But the man gave his best. His best was not good enough. Maybe he should be considering retirement, or maybe exhibition matches now, just for the fun of it, not against top level boxers like Moses Itauma, because they are definitely on the rise, and you should avoid people like that.
Well, congratulations, Moses Itauma had to, of course, flip that one in this morning, since of course, we couldn't talk about it yesterday on the show. We hear that Bayelsa State have actually bid to host the 2028 National Sports Festival. They're still on the cards. We'll have many bidders across different states of the Federation. And when one of those states is confirmed, we'll definitely let you know as well. But for now, we'll take a very short break. That when we return, we'll talk about football conversations with the anticipation of the CHAN competition later today, where Nigeria will be part. The Premier League game came alive yesterday. We'll talk more about transfers as well this morning, as players are still looking forward to leave their respective football clubs. We'll be right back after the short break.
Broadening your horizon is what every living being not only genuinely desires, but heartily pursues and intentionally invests in. For in the gathering of men, only those whose minds are in tune with the dynamics of the past, present, and future innovations, inventions, politics, and governance are respected. We are Spectrum Television, and broadening your horizon is our obsession. Risk on your decoder now to connect Spectrum Television on the frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. That is frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. Polarization horizontal, and join our online community at spectrumtvlive.ng. For further enquiries, please call 0704 158 5642 or 0704 541 7707. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Welcome back. It is Sports Central on the frequency of choice, Planet Spectrum Television of Ecuador this particular morning. Well, let's quickly look at the world of football and what has been happening over the course of yesterday and even the early hours of this morning. Well, there have been preparations ahead of the start of the NPFL season for club sides. Just yesterday, we had over 23 players were being released by Imba International. And of course, it has actually sparked so many talking points and controversies in the media space as regards why we have actually seen this happen over time in Nigerian football. More or less a recurring decimal where we have club side release 30 players at the end of the season, 25 players at the end of the season, and it continues on and on. Well, definitely won't dwell much on that conversation this morning, but still talking about of course, what's happening with our national teams. The Flying Eagles of Nigeria, we here have begun their campaign, the final preparations ahead of the start of the FIFA Under-20 World Cup that will be staged in Chile later this year. Ali Zubair and the boys have been doing quite well. Recently, recall they actually participate at the WAFO-B, of course, tournament where we had Nigeria not doing quite well in that particular tournament. We hear that the key focus during the camping has been David Stombrick, the promising player from Fortuna Sittard in the Netherlands. Well, the man is also set to join the camp. He was actually sidelined for the African Cup of Nations Under-20 due to injury. We hope he returns as soon as possible for the FIFA Under-20 World Cup. Well, the FIFA Under-20 World Cup is scheduled to take place in September 27 in Chile, and many are expecting Ali Zubair and the boys to do better. Well, away from that, now straight to the camp of the NPFL, where we hear the Lafayette City Stadium are set to undergo renovation. Well, Lafayette City Stadium is being used by Nasarawa United, and they're looking forward to revamp the stadium and make it more interesting for fans' confidence as we look forward to more matches this coming season in the NPFL. But the last group game for the Chan tournament is today for the Super Eagles B side. Play for Prime has been the tag. Now, their first two games of this particular competition have all ended in defeat. Recall the last one where it was a thrashing by Sudan. And later today, the Nigerian side will be in action. I'm many looking forward to see whether or not Nigeria will be able to get the backs of Congo in this one. Well, fun, a non-consequential game now for Nigeria. Just their last group game, whether they win by 20 goals to nothing or not, they are already condemned to exit the competition. What should they play for this time?
Well, first off, I'll start with this. Eric Sekuchel has to drop Leonard Ngenge. We don't want to see him in this match. First two matches, he made errors leading to goals. In both matches, why are you starting again? So I think we should see a different centre-back, someone who can do something different to what we saw with Leonard Ngenge in that particular competition. So also for the match, nothing to expect. I doubt Nigerians will even want to watch this match because it's quite non-consequential. Nothing to look forward to. The goals does not affect them, doesn't send them home, doesn't bring them back to the competition. They already I'm sure they've booked their flight already, so it's not even something to discuss about. So for Eric Sekocha, maybe show us that he's not completely outclassed, because trust me, he might blame, no matter how much he wants to blame the players, there's still a level of burden of this particular competition on him as a coach, because he's been outclassed by 2 coaches now so far. The Senegalese coach, the Sudanese coach, and now it's going to be the Congo coach. So he has to prove his mettle, because no matter how bad a coach is, no matter how good a coach is, you should not be losing games like this. Look at Jose Mourinho. Trust me, even if he manages West Ham United, they will not be at the relegation zone. No matter what team he takes over, they might not be able to compete at the highest level, but they won't be competing at the lowest level either. So you should prove your mettle as a top coach. You are a top coach. Super Eagles of Nigeria, that's a top team in Africa. So you shouldn't be, getting beaten by anybody. So at the end of it, let's see what happens at the end of the day.
Well, of course, a non-consequential game, and we're looking forward to see whether or not Nigeria will be able to get their first victory of the CHAN competition. But we'll look forward to that much later in the day. Well, Leeds United yesterday in the English Premier League got the better of Everton as they returned back to the English Premier League from the English Championship. They're one of the few newly promoted sides back to the English Premier League, and they started off with victory just yesterday, courtesy of one man who's been, of course, in fine form for them so far since joining the side. I'm talking about Mencha. They scored in the 84th minute, converting from the penalty spot to ensure that Leeds United, their first game of the Premier League season, got a maximum 3 points. Well, highlights of yesterday's match was Jack Grealish making his debut for Everton since joining from Manchester City. Unfortunately, he was at the receiving end. Well, Leeds United brights back to life in the Premier League. Maybe something to build on.
Well, first of all, I would say it's quite exciting that this particular season we're seeing the newly promoted side doing quite well. Apart from Burnley, who lost 3-0 to Tottenham Hotspur, we had Sunderland defeating West Ham United 3-0. So now Leeds United beating Everton as well. I think it's something to look forward to. Maybe the newly promoted sides are not just coming up to go down again. So it's quite exciting to see that. For Jack Grealish yesterday, not enough time to really make postulations of what we'd see of his stay at Everton. But really something to look forward to, because that Everton side for me looked very shaky. We had James Garner playing at left back yesterday. Really shows that David Moyes is right to say he needs players, because I think they've let quite a number of players go and not enough replacement. So they really need players at this point. No matter how good you are, you need players to do the job for you as a manager. So for David Moyes, maybe Everton should get the players for him, because at this point, I understand they got a new stadium, so quite the finances at the club is quite tight. But at the end of it, you should be able to at least get players in certain positions for the manager. For Leeds United, way to go under the new manager Daniel Farke. His last time in the Premier League was with Norwich. Set right back to relegation. Let's see if this time around will be different for him.
Will it be a flash in the pan for Leeds United? Continues to be an evolving conversation. While the league season is quite a marathon, so definitely we still have more games all to play for. But away from that now, other games also happened yesterday where Elche played 1-1 draw with Real Betis, and FC Porto in the Portuguese Primeira Liga defeated Gil Vicente by 2 goals to nothing. Well, Christian Romero of Tottenham Hotspur, the new captain of the side, have signed a new 4-year deal to stay with North Londoners Tottenham Hotspur's past the where, and his last contract would have actually put him on. Well, at the moment, this has been key and integral for the new manager since, of course, being appointed, and it looks like the man still wants to continue with the side. He's a Gentile centre-back, has been quite prolific for Spurs in recent seasons, and he signed a new contract with the side to stay with Thomas Frank in the next 4 years. But let's quickly look at other conversations on the show. We hear that Vinicius Junior contract talks with Real Madrid have stalled. Well, we do not know what exactly the terms or the demands of Vinicius Junior is, but there have been loggerheads in recent months. But we hear that particular contract renewal talks have stalled. Maybe an improved package, because during the summer we had Saudi Arabia come calling with the longest amount of money. Maybe Vinicius Junior He's not looking for something quite, similar to what Saudi Arabia offered, but something quite close, or maybe half of what Saudi Arabia offered to stay at the Bernabeu.
Oh, definitely. When you've seen money, you would expect more because Saudi Arabia came calling for the man, and Real Madrid told him stay put at the club. And now you're bringing a contract term that's not even close to what he saw. I think that's quite disappointing. I'll be disappointed as a player as well. Yes, you not expect Real Madrid to be able to match what they're paying there, but at least they've got the money. They've got the money, so it should be something quite handy for the man. He's been an integral part of the squad for the last 3 years, done quite well for them. In fact, last year he was a subject of a lot of Ballon d'Or nominations. We had that, a controversy between him and the man Rodri, who should have won the Ballon d'Or. So I think he deserves whatever he's getting. But the question is, does Xabi Alonso see him as important like Carlo Ancelotti did? Because I think that's what is happening now at Real Madrid. They're looking forward to other players who now is deemed more important. Kylian Mbappe, Xabi Alonso, I heard he loves the man. I had a goal as well. So probably Real Madrid are seeing this a man like, you're not as important as you used to be. So maybe it's just business.
Just business as usual. Looking forward to see exactly when or whether Real Madrid will come back with a new offer on the table for Vinicius Junior. Well, we also hear that U-20 Wisa, a Brentford striker, have deleted all Brentford links, posts, pictures, of course, past the social media platform. So if you go to U-20 Wisa on Instagram, you won't find any social media post as regards Brentford. The man is looking forward to leave Brentford this particular summer, and that's why that has happened. His core friend last season, Bram Bomo, is now with Manchester United. Recall their first game of the season, they were trashed by Nottingham Forest. So the man wants to leave Brentford at the moment. Manuel Akanji of Manchester City, we hear the man is wanted by Galatasaray. We do not know whether or not Pep Guardiola will allow him leave this particular summer, but we hear he's attracting interest. Wendo's signing has taken Nottingham Forest spending this particular summer to 140 million euros. Even small clubs are spending. Recall recently they sold Antonio Langa, I think about over 60 million pounds, and they've got a whole lot of money, so they've been spending in recent times and also selling. Later today would have Real Madrid at the Estadio Santiago Bernabeu taking their opponent to Osasuna at 8 p.m. Nigerian time. Well, Xabi Alonso has confirmed that Jude Bellingham won't be part of this particular game and remains the subject of conversation. Well, first game of the season for Real Madrid now after, of course, the conclusion of the FIFA Club World Cup. They haven't, of course, been part of any friendly game so far, but their first game of the season, and they actually start on the front foot.
Well, the pressure to win is there. Barcelona, on the other hand, started on a good note. Yes, Atletico Madrid lost, but we all know that Real Madrid and Barcelona are always going to be those rivals. So Barcelona started with a winning note, 3-0, convincing victory. Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, starting where they left last season. So definitely, I think the pressure will be on Real Madrid to win this particular match and also upheld the pressure on Barcelona to win the next one as well.
Okay, there's been so many injury worries, especially for Real Madrid. Camavinga has also been talk of that particular list. We hear the likes of Jude Bellingham and Camavinga will be out of this particular encounter. But more transfers for you just before we bounce. We hear that Rooney, former Manchester United player, said points, deduction and fines could also be a way of trying to eliminate racial abuse. He's actually reacting to the man, Antoine Semenyo of Bournemouth. He was racially abused in that game against Liverpool, the very first game of the Premier League season. And the man is suggesting some of these measures to be quite effective to eliminate racial abuse. But we draw the curtains here on today's edition of Sports Central. Return tomorrow for more extensive conversations in the world of sport. Thank you very much for fun.
A pleasure to be here.
Return tomorrow, same time on the frequency. Have fun. Stay out of trouble. Bye for now.
Broadening your horizon is what every living being not only genuinely desires, but heartily pursues and intentionally invests in. For in the gathering of men, only those whose minds are in tune with the dynamics of the past, present, and future innovations, inventions, politics, and governance are respected. We are Spectrum Television, and broadening your horizon is our obsession. Risk on your decoder now to connect Spectrum Television on the frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. That is frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. Polarization horizontal, and join our online community at spectrumtvlive.ng. For further inquiries, please call 0704 158 5642 or 0704 541 7707.